Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take one source and really unpack it for you. Today, we're looking at a transcript from this massive YouTube video. It claims to be the ultimate guide to Greek mythology.
Right, and our mission basically is to sift through it all and pull out the most fascinating stories, the key connections.
Exactly. Think of it as your guided tour through this incredible world of gods, heroes, monsters, all that good stuff.
A shortcut maybe to getting a handle on how it all fits together.
Yeah, because this one video tries to cover everything. I mean, the scope is huge, so we'll be meeting tons of characters following loads of different plot lines.
And seeing how they link up, often in pretty surprising ways.
So what we want you, the listener, to get from this is a solid grasp of the main myths, maybe spot some recurring themes, and just appreciate how interconnected these ancient stories are without getting totally overwhelmed, hopefully.
We're aiming for those aha moments where things just click into place.
Okay, let's dive right in. And where better to start than Perseus? It's such a classic hero story, and it kicks off with some major family drama.
Oh yeah, you've got these two brothers, Acrisius and Proteus, fighting over the kingdom of Argos.
Acrisius wins, but then bam, he gets this really disturbing prophecy.
It's amazing how often that happens, right? Fear of the future just drives everything.
Yeah.
Acrisius finds out his own grandson is supposedly going to kill him.
So his reaction is, well, it's pretty extreme.
Totally. He locks up his daughter, Danae, in this bronze tower, thinking, okay, no kids, no problem. He's trying to dodge fate.
But you can't really keep Zeus out, can you?
Apparently not. Especially when he decides to show up as a shower of golden rain.
Seriously, golden rain.
Yep. Falls into the tower, and, well, 9 months later, you get Perseus.
Acrisius must have been furious.
Furious and probably terrified. He suspects his brother Proteus might be behind it somehow. His solution: put Danae and baby Perseus in a big wooden chest
Oh no.
and just cast them out to sea, hoping the problem just drifts away.
Grim. A really grim start for a hero.
But, divine intervention. Zeus gets Poseidon to calm the seas.
So the chest doesn't just sink.
Nope, it washes ashore on the island of Seriphos. And they're found by this fisherman, Dictys.
A good guy. Okay, so a bit of luck there.
Well, Dictys is actually the brother of the king, Polydectes. So Dictys takes them in, raises Perseus. Years go by, Perseus grows up.
But then the king, Polydectes, gets involved.
Right. Polydectes starts to fancy Danae. But Perseus is always there, protective of his mom.
An obstacle.
Exactly. So Polydectes cooks up this scheme. He pretends he's getting married and needs wedding gifts. Everyone brings horses, valuable stuff.
And Perseus doesn't have anything like that.
Right. He's basically a fisherman's kid. So maybe feeling a bit put on the spot or just youthful boasting, he says he could bring back something really impressive.
Uh-oh. What does he say?
The head of Medusa.
Wow. He just blurts that out.
Pretty much. And Polydectes is like, great, off you go then. Calls his bluff, basically sends him on a suicide mission.
But Perseus has some divine help lined up, I'm guessing. Son of Zeus and all that.
Hermes pops up, gives him this super sharp divine sword, unbreakable, and tells him how to find the Gray.
The Gray. Those are the old women who share one eye and one tooth.
The very same. Ancient beings, know all sorts of secrets. Hermes says they know the way to the northern nymphs.
And the nymphs have, what? More gear.
They have the crucial stuff. But first, Perseus has to get the info from the Gray. He waits till they're passing the eye.
And snatches it. Clever.
Yep. Holds it hostage until they tell him where the nymphs live. They spill the beans, he gives the eye back.
So off to the northern nymphs. What goodies do they give him?
The hero's starter pack, essentially. Winged sandals to fly.
Like Hermes.
Exactly. Hades' helmet of invisibility.
Very useful.
And a special bag, the cabesus, to safely carry, well, the head.
Right. You can't just stuff that in your pocket.
Uh-huh.
And didn't Athena help too?
She did. Crucially, she gives him her polished shield, the Aegis. Tells him to use it like a mirror.
To avoid looking directly at Medusa. Because her gaze turns people to stone.
Precisely. So he flies to her lair, which is littered with stone statues of less fortunate adventurers, by the way.
Creepy.
He finds Medusa. Her sisters are asleep. Luckily uses the helmet to sneak closer. Watches her reflection in the shield.
Waits for the right moment.
Listens for the hissing snakes in her hair. Lines it up. And slice. One clean cut with the divine sword.
He got the head. But isn't there something else that happens right then?
Oh, yeah. From the next stump sprang Chrysaor, a giant with a golden sword, and the winged horse, Pegasus.
Wow. Instant offspring. Talk about a dramatic exit.
So Perseus grabs the head, bags it up, puts on the helmet, and flies out of there with Pegasus maybe following. But his journey's not over.
Who does he run into next?
Atlas, the titan holding up the sky.
That Atlas. What happens there?
Perseus asks for shelter, maybe boasts a little about Medusa. Atlas is rude, disbelieves him, maybe worries about a prophecy involving his golden apples.
Big mistake.
Huge. Perseus just whips out Medusa's head. Zap. Instant mountain range.
He turned Atlas into the Atlas Mountains. Seriously.
That's the story. One problem solved, you could say. Permanently.
Okay, well, where to next on his flight path?
He flies over Ethiopia and sees a princess chained to a rock by the sea. Andromeda.
Why is she chained up?
Her mother, Queen Cassiopeia, made a huge blunder. Brag Andromeda was more beautiful than the Nereids, the sea nymphs.
Ooh, never compliment yourself above the gods or their relatives. Basic rule.
You got it. The Nereids complained to Poseidon, who sends floods and a sea monster, Cetus, to ravage the kingdom.
And the only way to stop it is to sacrifice Andromeda.
The oracle said so. So there she is, waiting for the monster.
Enter Perseus. Hero landing.
Pretty much. Descends from the sky, battles Cetus, kills the monster, saves the princess. Classic hero stuff.
And they fall in love.
Instantly. Her parents are overjoyed, offer her hand in marriage, they have a wedding.
So Perseus gets the girl and the Gorgon head. Busy trip.
Very. Then he takes Andromeda back with him to Seriphus.
Back to deal with King Polydectes.
Right, and Polydectes hasn't given up on Danae. He's been harassing her. She's had to take refuge in a temple.
So Perseus arrives just in time.
He confronts the king in his court. They probably laugh at him, maybe threaten him.
Bad move for them.
Terrible move. Perseus warns his friends, like Dictys, to look away, then unveils Medusa's head one last time.
Turns Polydectes and all his cronies to stone.
A whole lot. Frozen in time, justice served, Seriphos style.
And Dictys becomes king. The good guy wins.
Yep. Dictys gets the throne. Seems like a happy ending, except for that prophecy about Acrisius.
Oh yeah, the grandfather he was supposed to kill. Did that just not happen?
Fate has a funny way of working things out. Years later, Perseus is competing in some athletic games in another kingdom.
Just throwing the discus, maybe?
Exactly. And guess who happens to be in the crowd, having fled his own kingdom, still fearing the prophecy?
No. Acrisius.
Acrisius. The discus slips, flies into the stands, hits an old man.
And it's him. Perseus accidentally kills his grandfather.
Just like the prophecy said. Unintentional, tragic, but unavoidable. Fate wins again.
Wow. You really can't escape your destiny in these myths. Okay, let's shift gears. What about Phaethon? Another story of youthful overconfidence.
Definitely. Phaethon's got this chip on his shoulder. He needs everyone to know he's the son of Helios, the sun god.
He wants proof.
Desperately. So he travels to Helios's amazing palace. Helios is maybe feeling a bit guilty or just proud and makes a terrible promise.
What does he promise?
He swears by the river Styx the unbreakable oath to grant Phaethon any wish.
And Phaethon wishes.
To drive the sun chariot for just one day.
Oh boy. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Helios pleads with him, explains how incredibly dangerous it is, how only he has the strength to control the fiery horses. But Phaethon won't listen. Pride gets in the way. Completely. He grabs the reins, and immediately it's chaos. The horses sense he's not Helios, they bolt off course.
So the chariot's just careening wildly.
Totally out of control. It flies too high, freezing the earth, then it dips way too low.
Scorching everywhere.
Exactly. Forests catch fire, rivers boil away, the seas start to steam. Even Poseidon complains to Zeus that his oceans are turning into hot puddles.
The whole world is basically on fire.
Pretty much. Zeus sees that creation itself is about to unravel. He has no choice.
Thunderbolt.
A direct hit.
Yeah.
Strikes Phaethon right out of the chariot. His body falls flaming into the river Eridanus.
And the damage he caused.
That scorched earth became the Sahara Desert. A permanent reminder of what happens when you try to handle power you're not ready for.
A very dramatic origin story for a desert.
Wow.
Okay, from fire to, well, another victim of divine attention, Eo's story.
Ah, Io. Another one of Zeus's, shall we say, romantic interests. A beautiful princess.
And Hera finds out, as usual.
Hera always finds out. Her jealousy is legendary. Zeus tries to hide Io by turning her into a cow.
A cow. Not the best disguise.
A particularly beautiful snow-white cow. But still, a cow. Hera sees right through it.
She probably asks for the cow as a gift, doesn't she?
Precisely. Feigns admiration, puts Zeus in a corner. He has to give her the cow.
And Hera doesn't just put her in a field.
Oh no. She entrusts Io the cow to Argus Panoptes.
Panoptes, meaning all-seeing. The giant with 100 eyes.
That's the one. Impossible to escape his gaze, because some eyes were always awake. Total surveillance.
So Io is just trapped, constantly watched. What does Zeus do? He caused this mess.
He feels guilty, sends Hermes to sort it out. Hermes, the master of cunning,
How does Hermes handle a hundred-eyed giant?
disguises himself as a shepherd, plays enchanting music on his canpipes, tells stories, specifically the one about Pan and Syrinx, how the pipes were made.
Lulls Argus to sleep, all hundred eyes.
Every last one. Once Argus is out cold, Hermes dispatches him, frees Io.
But Hera wouldn't let it end there.
Not a chance. First, she takes Argus's eyes and puts them on her favorite bird.
The peacock. That's where the eyes on peacock feathers come from.
According to the myth, yes. A tribute to her loyal watchman. But for Io, more torment.
Still as a cow.
Still as a cow. Hera sends a relentless gadfly, or sometimes the Furies, to sting her constantly.
Driving her mad, basically.
Exactly. Chases are all over the known world. Just endless wandering and misery.
Does she ever get relief?
Eventually, Zeus finally promises Hera he'll leave Io alone if she calls off the torment. Hera agrees. Io wanders all the way to Egypt.
And then?
There, she's finally restored to human form. Though her skin stays white, she's revered, sometimes identified with the Egyptian goddess Isis.
And she has a child with Zeus.
Yes, Epaphus. They're said to have ruled Egypt, founded the city of Memphis. So she goes from persecuted cow to revered ruler. Quite the journey.
Cadmus and the founding of Thebes. How does that begin?
It starts with an abduction, actually. Cadmus' sister, Europa, gets carried off by Zeus disguised as a bull.
Right, we heard about Europa.
So their father, King Agenor, tells Cadmus and his brothers to go find her and not to come back without her.
An impossible task, basically.
Totally. They search for years, no luck. Cadmus eventually gives up on finding Europa and goes to the oracle at Delphi for guidance.
What does the oracle say? Forget your sister, go build a city.
Pretty much. The Pythia tells him to follow a specific cow, one with a moon symbol on its side, and found his city wherever it lies down to rest.
So he follows the cow.
She finds it, follows it through Greece until it finally collapses from exhaustion. Cadmus declares, "This is the spot. This will be Thebes."
But it's not that easy, is it? There's always a monster.
Always. His men go looking for water and find a spring guarded by a fierce dragon sacred to Ares.
And the dragon
Attacks them.
kills several of them.
Yeah.
Cadmus, wearing a lion skin for protection, goes looking for his men, finds the dragon, and has to fight it.
Does he win?
He does after a tough battle. Slays the dragon, avenges his men, but now he's alone.
Until Athena shows up.
Right on cue. Athena tells him to do something really strange. Pull out the dragon's teeth and sow them in the ground.
So dragon's teeth, what happens?
Fully armed warriors spring up from the earth. The Spartoi, the sown men.
Wow. Instant army.
Sort of. They immediately start fighting each other. A brutal battle until only 5 are left standing.
And those 5 become his allies. Exactly. They pledge loyalty to Cadmus and help him build Thebes.
And he gets a divine wife too, doesn't he?
Yes, Harmonia, the daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. Pretty high-profile marriage, linking Thebes to the gods right from the start. Their descendants feature heavily in later Theban myths.
So violence, divine help, weird agriculture. The founding of Thebes had it all.
It really set the stage for a city with a very dramatic history.
Okay, now for something completely different. Hermaphroditus. The name itself is suggestive.
Yes, born from Hermes and Aphrodite, and blessed with this extraordinary, captivating beauty that was seen as both male and female, or perhaps beyond categorization.
Raised near Mount Ida.
Yes, but eventually decides to travel. One day, comes across this beautiful, clear pond.
Well, and there's a nymph there.
Samasis, a naiad.
Yeah.
She lives in the pond, and she sees Hermaphroditus.
And falls instantly in love.
Head over heels, completely smitten. She makes her feelings very clear, but Hermaphroditus isn't really interested, maybe just shy or young.
So she doesn't take no for an answer.
Not at all. Hermaphroditus decides to bathe in the pond, thinking she's gone. Salmacis dives in, grabs hold, clings on tight.
A struggle ensues.
Yes, and Salmacis prays desperately to the gods, "Let us be joined together, never to be parted."
And the gods grant her wish. Literally.
Uh-huh. Their bodies fuse. They merge into a single being possessing both male and female physical characteristics.
Becoming the first intersex being named Hermaphroditus.
Exactly. It's a complex myth exploring themes of desire, identity, consent, and the sometimes startling literalness of divine intervention.
A very unique transformation. Now, from fusion to eternal aging, Tithonus.
Ah, Tithonus. A handsome Trojan prince, brother of King Priam, he catches the eye as Eos, the goddess of the dawn, also known as Aurora.
They fall in love. a mortal and a goddess.
Deeply in love. But Eos knows Tithonus will age and die. She can't bear the thought of losing him.
So she asks Zeus for a favor.
She pleads with Zeus to grant Tithonus immortality so they can be together forever. Zeus agrees.
But there's a catch, isn't there? She forgot something crucial.
She forgot to ask for eternal youth. A massive oversight.
Oh no. So Tithonus lives forever, but keeps aging.
Exactly. He gets older, weaker, starts babbling like an old man, shrinks down.
It becomes a curse, not a blessing.
A terrible curse.
Mm.
Eventually, Eos can't stand to see him suffer like that anymore. She locks him away in a room. He's immortal, but just withers away indefinitely. Some say he turned into a cicada eventually, endlessly chirping.
A really sad story. Be careful what you wish for, especially when asking gods.
And be specific. It's a stark lesson in foresight.
Okay, let's try to unravel a more complicated birth situation. Helen, Clytemnestra, Castor, and Pollux. How does that work? It involves Zeus as a swan.
That's the one. Leda, Queen of Sparta, wife of King Tyndareus. She's incredibly beautiful, so naturally Zeus notices.
He transforms into a swan.
Pretends to be attacked by an eagle, seeks refuge with Leda. She takes the swan in, protects it.
And Zeus takes advantage of the situation.
That's the implication. But that same night, Leda also sleeps with her husband, Tyndareus.
So, mixed parentage incoming.
Very mixed. Leda lays 2 eggs.
2 eggs, like a bird.
Like a swan, perhaps. From one egg hatches Helen, future cause of the Trojan War, and Pollux. They're Zeus's children. Pollux is immortal.
And the other egg?
Hatches Clytemnestra, who marries Agamemnon and Castor. They're Tyndareus' mortal children.
So 2 sets of twins, half divine, half mortal, all from the same mother, born from eggs. Okay.
Tyndareus raises all 4 as his own. Castor and Pollux become the famous Dioscuri twins, great heroes. Clytemnestra's fate is tied to Agamemnon and the Trojan War. And Helen, well, her beauty changes the course of history.
Talk about a complicated family tree with major consequences.
It really highlights how the divine and mortal worlds constantly intersect in these myths, often with epic results.
No, for a birth story, that's
Yeah.
even weirder. Erichthonius involves Hephaestus and Athena.
Yes, and it's a bit messy. Hephaestus is kind of reeling from Aphrodite's affair with Ares. Athena comes to his forge to order weapons for the upcoming Trojan War.
Okay, standard divine business.
But Poseidon may be stirring the pot. Hints to Hephaestus that Athena might have a secret crush on him.
Which is unlikely, given Athena's vow of chastity.
Extremely unlikely. But Hephaestus, maybe lonely or flattered, falls for it. Next time Athena visits, he makes a move.
And Athena rejects him, obviously.
Firmly. But in the struggle, Hephaestus spills his divine seed onto Athena's leg. She wipes it off in disgust with a piece of wool and throws it to the ground.
And the earth, Gaia, gets involved.
Gaia receives the seed, and from the earth springs Erichthonius, part baby boy, part serpent.
Serpent-tailed. Wow, what does Athena do?
She feels responsible, adopts him, but she wants to keep his strange form secret for a while. Puts him in a chest or basket.
And gives it to someone for safekeeping.
To the 3 daughters of Cecrops, the first king of Athens, with strict instructions, do not open the box.
Which, of course, means they're definitely going to open the box.
Human curiosity wins again. They peek inside, see the snake baby, and are driven mad by the sight.
What happens to them?
They throw themselves off the Acropolis to their deaths.
Tragic. So Athena raises Erichthonius herself.
Yes, in her temple. And he grows up to be a wise and just king of Athens. He's even credited with inventing the use of currency.
So, a very strange beginning leads to a successful reign. Athena's influence, maybe.
Definitely seems like it. A testament to nurture over
Yeah.
very unusual nature.
All right, let's turn to arguably the biggest name in Greek heroism, Heracles, or Hercules, as the Romans called him. His early life is pretty packed with drama, too, right? Starts with Zeus and a mortal woman.
Absolutely. His mother is Alcmene, wife of the Theban general Amphitryon. His father is Zeus,
How did that happen? Amphitryon was away.
off fighting a war. Zeus sees his chance, disguises himself as Amphitryon, and spends a rather long night with Alcmene.
So Alcmene thinks it's her husband.
Exactly. When the real Amphitryon returns, there's some confusion, but Zeus reveals the divine intervention. Amphitryon is apparently okay with it, even honored.
Different times. But Hera wouldn't be okay with it.
Not remotely. Zeus had big plans for Heracles. A prophecy said the next descendant of Perseus born would rule Mycenae. Alcmene was Perseus's granddaughter.
So Heracles was destined to be king.
Should have been. But Hera interferes. She gets the goddess of childbirth to delay Heracles' birth and speed up the birth of his cousin Eurystheus.
So Eurystheus gets the crown instead. Ouch.
Steals his birthright before he's even born. But Heracles and his mortal twin brother, Iphicles, Amphitrion's son, are eventually born, and Heracles shows his strength early on.
The story with the snakes.
That's the one. Hera, still furious, sends two huge serpents into their cradle to kill them.
And baby Heracles.
Just grabs them, one in each hand, and strangles them. Giggles while doing it, some versions say.
Incredible, but Alcmene is terrified.
Understandably. Fearing Hera's wrath, she actually abandons Heracles in a field.
Seriously, she just leaves him.
Yeah, but Athena and, ironically, Hera herself stumble upon him. Athena knows who he is, Hera doesn't. They're impressed by his vitality.
What does Hera do?
Unknowingly, she nurses him, gives him some of her divine milk.
Doesn't that make him immortal?
It gives him superhuman strength, but the process is dramatic. He suckles so hard it hurts Hera, she pushes him away, and the spray of milk creates the Milky Way galaxy.
That's the origin of the Milky Way, Hera's breast milk.
According to that myth, yes. Athena then returns the baby to Alcmene. Hera eventually figures it out and is even angrier. Then the prophet Tiresias foretells Heracles' future heroic destiny.
So destined for greatness, but also destined to be persecuted by Hera.
Pretty much his whole life story. And because of Hera's meddling with the birthright, Heracles ends up having to serve the very cousin who stole his throne, Eurystheus.
That must have been galling.
Deeply frustrating. He consults the oracle at Delphi, trying to figure out his path.
And the oracle gives him the labors.
Tells him that if he completes 10, later becomes 12, impossible tasks set by Eurystheus, he'll achieve immortality and maybe get his due. But before he can even start,
Hera strikes again.
she drives him mad. In a fit of insanity, he kills his own wife, Megara, and their children, thinking they're monsters.
Oh, that's horrific. Caused by Hera.
Directly inflicted by her. When he comes to his senses, he's obviously devastated, consumed by guilt.
And that's why he agrees to the labors as penance.
Exactly. He goes back to Eurystheus, completely broken, ready to atone. And Eurystheus lays out these 12 incredibly difficult, often grotesque challenges.
We probably can't detail all 12, but highlight some of the really famous or unusual ones.
Okay, quickly. The Nemean lion, invulnerable skin, had to be strangled. The Lernaean hydra chopped one head, two grow back, needed help cauterizing the necks.
The Cyrenian hind, sacred deer of Artemis, had to capture it alive and unharmed, basically.
Right, very tricky. Then the Erymanthian boar captured another dangerous beast, chased it into deep snow. The Augean stables cleaned decades of dung from enormous stables in one day.
How did he manage that?
Diverted 2 rivers to flush them out. Clever. Then the Stymphalian birds, man-eating birds with metal feathers, scared them with a rattle from Athena, shot them down.
Capture the Cretan bull, the one Pasiphae fell for.
The very same mad bull. Wrestled it, brought it back. Then the mares of Diomedes, horses that ate human flesh.
What did he do with them?
Fed their owner, Diomedes, to them. That calmed them down, apparently.
Brutal. What about the girdle of Hippolyta?
Queen of the Amazons. Seemed straightforward initially, she was willing to give it. But Hera interfered, disguised herself, spread rumors. Heracles was abducting the queen.
Led to a fight.
Big fight. Hippolyta gets killed. Heracles takes the girdle. Then the cattle of Geryon, a 3-bodied giant with a 2-headed dog, Orthrus.
Where was Geryon?
Far west, near modern Spain. To get there, Heracles supposedly split a mountain, creating the Pillars of Hercules at Gibraltar. He kills Orthrus, kills Geryon, fights off Hera, brings back the cattle.
That's 10. What were the last 2, often added later?
The apples of the Hesperides. Golden apples from a garden at the edge of the world, guarded by nymphs and a dragon.
How did he get those? Seems impossible.
Got advice from Prometheus. Tricked Atlas, the guy holding up the sky, into getting them for him. Heracles held the sky for a bit.
He held up the sky.
Yep. Then Atlas tried to trick him into keeping the job, but Heracles outsmarted him. Asked Atlas to take it back for a second while he adjusted his cloak, then grabbed the apples and ran.
Clever. And the final, 12th labor.
The hardest. Go down to the underworld and bring back Cerberus, the 3-headed guard dog of Hades.
Capture Cerberus, alive.
Alive and without weapons. He gets permission from Hades, wrestles the beast into submission, drags it up to show Eurystheus, who freaks out, and then takes it back down.
He literally conquered death, in a way.
Essentially, yes. Completing the labors makes him the ultimate hero. He has more adventures, of course, but eventually he achieves apotheosis, becomes a god on Olympus.
An incredible life story. Strength, tragedy, perseverance, divinity.
He embodies so much of the Greek heroic ideal, flaws and all.
Okay, let's shift to a slightly lighter, maybe tipsier god. Dionysus and the pirates.
Ah, yes. Dionysus, god of wine, theater, ecstasy. He's wandering around teaching people about grapes and winemaking.
Sounds pleasant enough.
Until he gets spotted by some pirates. They see his fancy clothes, maybe his general aura, and think he's a prince they can ransom.
So they kidnap him.
Grab him, try to tie him up, but the ropes just fall off.
Divine sign number one.
Exactly. The helmsman on the ship, the smart one, realizes this is probably a god and tells the captain, we should let him go.
But the captain is greedy.
Totally dismisses the warning. Big mistake. Dionysus decides playtime is over.
What does he do?
Miracles start happening. The wind dies, vines start growing all over the ship, wrapping around the mast and oars.
Turning the oars into vines?
Yep. Then wine starts flowing across the deck instead of seawater.
Okay, that's pretty clear signaling.
And then he summons a phantom leopard, or lion. The pirates are terrified, leap overboard. As they hit the water, they turn into dolphins.
All of them. Except the helmsman.
All except the wise helmsman, who showed respect. Dionysus spares him. A lesson in recognizing divinity when you see it, maybe.
And maybe don't kidnap mysterious strangers in purple robes. Good advice. Okay, another transformation story. Clytie.
Clytie, an oceanid nymph. She falls hard for Helios, the sun god.
But he doesn't return her feelings. Or loses interest.
Yeah, the affair, if there was one, ends. Helios moves on. But Clytie is obsessed.
What does she do?
She just sits and stares at him. All day, every day. Watches his chariot cross the sky, never looks away.
Forgetting to eat or drink, presumably.
Totally consumed by this unrequited love. And slowly she begins to change.
She transforms. Into what?
Her feet take root. Her face turns into a flower that constantly follows the sun. She becomes the heliotrope, or the sunflower.
Wow. A living symbol of her devotion. Sad, but also kind of beautiful.
It really captures that idea of obsessive love leading to a permanent state.
Okay, from gazing at the sun to being snatched up towards the heavens. Ganymede.
Ganymede, an exceptionally beautiful young Trojan prince out tending his father's sheep.
And Zeus spots him from Olympus.
Yes, and is utterly captivated by his beauty. Decides this kid is too beautiful for the mortal world.
So Zeus doesn't visit as Golden Rain this time?
Nope. Transforms into a giant eagle, swoops down, grabs Ganymede, and carries him off to Mount Olympus.
Just abducts him. What for?
To be the cupbearer to the gods, serving nectar and ambrosia at their banquets. It was a position of honor.
Does he replace someone?
Yes, Hebe, the goddess of youth.
Yeah.
And Zeus grants Ganymede immortality and eternal youth, so his beauty never fades.
How does everyone else feel about this? Hera, presumably, is not thrilled.
Hera is definitely jealous.
Yeah.
And Ganymede's parents, back on Earth, are heartbroken, obviously. Their son just vanished.
Does Zeus do anything to console them?
He creates the constellation Aquarius, the water bearer in the sky, as a sort of tribute to Ganymede and his role, maybe a comfort to the parents.
So Ganymede gets immortality and a job, his parents get a constellation. Complicated family dynamics, divine edition.
Very much so. It touches on beauty, desire, divine favoritism, and the grief of loss.
Now for a more abstract figure. Kairos, the god of opportunity.
Exactly. Not Chronos, who is linear time ticking away.
Yeah.
Kairos is that specific fleeting moment, the opportune time to act.
The nick of time.
Precisely. The Greeks understood that critical chances don't last. Kairos was depicted in a very specific way to illustrate this.
How did he look?
He had a long lock of hair at the front of his head.
So you could grab him as he approaches.
Right. But the back of his head was completely bald.
Meaning once he's passed you by?
There's nothing to grab onto. The opportunity is gone. You have to seize the moment when it's right in front of you.
A very vivid visual metaphor. Be decisive. Pay attention.
A timeless reminder, really. Don't let chances slip away.
Okay, let's get back to racing. Hippomenes and Atalanta. She was the incredibly fast huntress.
That's her. Super swift, devoted to Artemis, didn't want to get married. Maybe a prophecy warned her against it.
So she set up a challenge. Race me. If you win, we marry. If you lose,
You die. Pretty high stakes. Lots of guys tried, lots of guys failed. Died for it.
But Hippomenes tries anyway. Is he just faster?
No, he's smart. Or maybe desperate. He prays to Aphrodite for help.
And the goddess of love helps him.
How?
With speed.
Nope. She gives him 3 magical golden apples from her garden. Irresistibly beautiful apples.
Okay, so how does he use them in the race?
Atalanta, naturally, takes the lead. She's way faster. Just as she's about to pass him or pull too far ahead, Hippomenes rolls one of the golden apples across her path.
And she stops to pick it up, distracted by the shininess.
Completely captivated, she can't resist, stops, grabs it. Hippomenes gains some ground.
Does he have to do it again?
Twice more. Each time Atalanta catches up, he throws another apple. Each time she stops. The third time near the finish line.
That slight delay is enough.
Just enough for Hippomenes to cross the finish line first. He wins the race, wins Atalanta.
Happy ending, they get married.
They do get married, but they forget something important.
They didn't thank Aphrodite for the golden apples.
Exactly. Big mistake to stiff a goddess, especially the goddess of love who just helped you win your bride. Aphrodite is not pleased.
What does she do?
As punishment for their ingratitude, she fills them with uncontrollable lust at an inopportune moment, right when they're near or even inside a sacred temple of Cybele or maybe Rhea.
Oh, that's bad. Defiling a sacred place.
Very bad. The head goddess of that temple, Cybele or Rhea, is furious and transforms them,
Into what?
lions, and condemns them to pull her chariot for eternity.
Wow. From victorious racers to chariot-pulling lions, a harsh lesson in showing gratitude.
Definitely. Don't forget your divine benefactors.
Okay, now for a really major, beautiful, complex myth. Psyche and Eros. Cupid, basically.
Yes, Psyche is a mortal princess, but her beauty is so overwhelming, so extraordinary.
That people start worshiping her instead of Aphrodite.
Exactly. They neglect Aphrodite's temple, start offering prayers to Psyche. Aphrodite is predictably furious, unbelievably jealous.
So she decides to punish Psyche, using her son Eros.
She tells Eros to use one of his arrows to make Psyche fall in love with the most hideous, low-life creature he can find. A really cruel revenge.
But it backfires, doesn't it?
Spectacularly.
Yeah.
Eros goes to Psyche's bedroom, finds her sleeping, and is so stunned by her beauty that he accidentally pricks himself with his own arrow.
So Eros falls in love with Psyche, the god of love himself.
Instantly, deeply, irrevocably in love, his mother's plan is completely ruined.
But Psyche remains alone, despite being so beautiful.
Yes, because Eros, secretly in love, magically prevents anyone else from falling for her. Her older, less beautiful sisters get married off to kings. Psyche's parents are worried.
They consult an oracle.
Yes, the Oracle of Delphi. And the prophecy is terrifying. Psyche is destined to marry no mortal, but a monster, a winged serpent, feared by gods and men. She must be left on a mountaintop dressed for a funeral wedding.
Oh, that's bleak. Do they actually leave her there?
With immense sadness, yes. They abandon her on the peak.
But the monster doesn't come.
No monster. Instead, Zephyr, the gentle west wind, lifts her up and carries her down to a magical hidden valley, to a magnificent palace.
Who lives there?
It seems deserted, but invisible servants attend to her every need, and each night, in total darkness, her husband comes to her.
Her prophesied husband, Eros.
Yes, though she doesn't know it's him. He's kind, loving, wonderful. But he makes one absolute rule. She must never try to see his face.
She just has to trust him completely.
Right. And for a while, she's happy, deeply in love with this unseen husband. But she gets lonely, misses her family.
Does he let her sisters visit?
Reluctantly, yes. He warns her they might be jealous, might try to cause trouble, but he agrees.
And are they jealous?
Insanely jealous. They see her incredible palace, her obvious happiness. They can't stand it. They start planting seeds of doubt.
What do they tell her?
He must be the monster. Why else would he hide his face? He's probably fattening you up to eat you. You have to look at Psyche. You have to know.
They really prey on her fears. Does she give in?
Tragically, yes. The doubt gnaws at her. One night, while he's asleep, she lights an oil lamp.
And she sees him. Eros, the beautiful god of love.
She sees him, and he's breathtakingly beautiful. But in her shock and trembling, a drop of hot oil falls from the lamp onto his shoulder.
Waking him up.
Instantly, he sees the lamp, sees her face, realizes she broke her promise, betrayed his trust.
What does he do?
Heartbroken, he flies away without a word, leaving her utterly alone and devastated.
And Aphrodite finds out.
Oh yes, finds out her son fell for the mortal she aided. Now she directs her full fury at Psyche. She imposes a series of incredibly cruel, seemingly impossible tasks on her.
Tasks designed to break her or kill her.
Both, probably. Things like sorting a massive pile of mixed grains overnight, gathering golden fleece from dangerous rams, fetching water from a deadly river guarded by dragons.
Does Psyche manage them? How?
She gets help. Ants help her sort the seeds. A talking reed gives her advice about the rams. An eagle helps her get the water. Nature itself seems to pity her.
What's the final task? Usually the most dangerous.
Go down to the underworld and bring back a box containing some of Persephone's beauty. For Aphrodite, supposedly.
A trip to the underworld, that's hardcore.
Extremely dangerous. But she manages it, gets the box. But again, curiosity.
She opens the box, even though she was probably warned not to.
She thinks maybe a touch of divine beauty will help her win Eros back. But the box doesn't contain beauty.
What's in it?
A death-like sleep.
Yeah.
Stygian sleep. She opens it, collapses, seemingly dead.
Oh no, is that the end?
Looks like it. But Eros, who is recovered from his non and still loves her deeply, finds her.
Can he wake her?
He gently wipes the sleep from her eyes, waking her up. Then he flies straight to Zeus.
To plead their case.
Yes, he argues for their love. Zeus is moved, maybe also wants to stop Aphrodite's vendetta. He calls an assembly of the gods.
What does Zeus decide?
He grants Psyche immortality, makes her a goddess. Aphrodite has to accept it. They have a huge wedding feast on Olympus.
So they finally get their happy ending after all that.
They do. Psyche and Eros are reunited forever. They even have a daughter named Hedone, or pleasure. It's a story about love, trust, trials, and ultimately the soul finding union with desire.
A truly beautiful and profound myth. Okay, let's move to Athens and its great hero Theseus. His origins are also a bit complex.
Quite complex. It starts with King Aegeus of Athens, who's desperate for an heir. He goes to Delphi, gets one of those typically confusing prophecies.
Don't untie the wineskin's mouth until you reach Athens or something like that.
Something along those lines. On his way back, he stops in Troezen and tells his friend King Pythias about the oracle. Pythias is smart, figures it out. Aegeus will conceive a son with the next woman he sleeps with.
And Pythias has a daughter, Aethra.
He does. And wanting to link his line to Athens, Pythias gets Aegeus drunk and arranges for him to spend the night with Aethra.
So Aegeus is Theseus's father, but isn't there a divine element too?
Yes. That same night, Aethra has a dream, goes down to the sea, and Poseidon also lies with her. So Theseus has dual paternity. Mortal king, sea god. Gives him options later.
Before Aegeus leaves Troezen, he does something important.
Worried about enemies back home, he hides his royal sword and sandals under a huge, heavy rock. Tells Aethra, when our son is strong enough to lift this stone, send him to me in Athens with these tokens.
So Theseus grows up in Troezen, not knowing his father initially.
Right, raised by his mother and grandfather. There's a cute story about him as a kid seeing Heracles' lion skin cloak and thinking it's a real lion, attacking it with a toy weapon. Heracles supposedly predicted his future greatness then.
When does he lift the stone?
Around age 16. Proves his strength, gets the sword and sandals, learns the truth about his father, and sets off for Athens.
And he chooses the hard way to get there, doesn't he? The land route.
Deliberately. The sea route was safe, easy. The land route was infested with bandits and monsters. Theseus wanted to prove himself, clear the road, become a hero like Heracles.
And he defeats a bunch of famous villains.
Oh yeah. Periphetes the club bearer, Cenas the pine bender, Sciron who kicked people off cliffs, Circeon the wrestler, Procrustes with his infamous bed. Theseus deals with each of them, often using their own methods against them, sort of establishing his brand of justice.
Arrives in Athens as a proven hero. How's his reception?
Complicated. His father Aegeus is now under the influence of Medea, the sorceress.
The Medea, Jason's Medea. What's she doing in Athens?
Fled there after her. Unpleasantness in Corinth. She married Aegeus, maybe promised him an heir through magic. She immediately recognizes Theseus and sees him as a threat to her power.
So she plots against him.
Tells Aegeus this newcomer is dangerous, will cause his death. Convinces Aegeus to poison him at a feast.
Aegeus is going to poison his own son without realizing it.
Seems that way. But just as Theseus is about to drink the poisoned wine, he draws his sword, maybe to carve meat, maybe just instinctively.
And Aegeus recognizes the sword, the one he left under the rock.
Exactly. Realizes who Theseus is in the nick of time, knocks the poisoned cup away, embraces his son. Medea has to flee Athens in disgrace.
So Theseus is finally recognized as the heir. But Athens has a big problem, right? The Minotaur.
The huge problem. Every year, Athens has to send 7 young men and 7 young women to Crete as tribute to King Minos.
To be sacrificed to the Minotaur in the labyrinth. Why?
It was the price for losing a past war with Crete, supposedly after Minos' son was killed in Athens. A terrible, humiliating tribute.
And Theseus volunteers to go, as one of the 14.
He insists, vows to his father he'll kill the Minotaur and end the sacrifice. Aegeus is distraught, makes Theseus promise something.
The sails. Black sails going out, white sails if he returns victorious.
That's the signal they agree on. So Theseus sails to Crete with the other doomed youths under black sails.
What happens when they get to Crete? Minos' daughter gets involved.
Ariadne. She sees Theseus, falls instantly in love. She knows he's going into the labyrinth to face her half-brother, the Minotaur.
So she helps him against her own family.
Yes. Secretly gives him two crucial things: a sword to fight the Minotaur, and a ball of thread or yarn.
The thread is to find his way back out of the labyrinth.
Exactly. Tie one end at the entrance, unroll it as you go in, follow it back out.
Yeah.
Ingenious.
So Theseus goes in, finds the Minotaur.
Fights it, kills it. Then uses the thread to lead himself and the other Athenians safely out of the maze. Huge victory.
He takes Ariadne with him when they escape Crete.
Yes, they flee together.
Yeah.
But it's not a simple happily ever after for them.
Why not?
On the way back, they stop at the island of Naxos, and the god Dionysus appears to Theseus.
What does Dionysus want?
He claims Ariadne, says she's destined to be his bride. He orders Theseus to abandon her there while she's sleeping.
And Theseus just leaves her? Ouch.
He has to obey the god. Heartbroken, he sails away, leaving Ariadne for Dionysus.
And in his grief, he forgets something crucial.
But forgets to change the sails. The ship approaches Athens, still flying the black sails of mourning.
And his father, Aegis, is watching from the cliff.
Watching, waiting, sees the black sails, assumes the worst, that Theseus is dead.
Then he jumps into the sea.
In despair, yes. Throws himself into the sea, which is why it's called the Aegean Sea today.
Wow. So Theseus returns a hero, liberator of Athens, slayer of the Minotaur, but finds his father dead because of a forgotten promise.
A moment of immense triumph overshadowed by personal tragedy. He becomes king, a great ruler of Athens, but always with that shadow.
Such complex layers to these hero stories. Okay, we've covered the big sagas. Let's touch on a few shorter but still fascinating myths. The queen bee's wish to Zeus.
Right. A queen bee offers Zeus some exceptional honey. Zeus is pleased, offers her a wish.
And she wishes for a weapon, a sting, to protect the honey.
Yes, to use against honey thieves. Zeus grants it, but adds a consequence. Use the sting and you die. A little lesson about the cost of vengeance or defense.
Then there's Lamia, tragic figure.
Very tragic. Once a beautiful queen, loved by Zeus, Hera naturally gets jealous.
What does Hera do to Lamia?
Kills her children. Lamia is driven mad by grief, transformed by Hera's curse into a child-eating monster, often depicted as part snake, a figure of pure sorrow and terror.
And Niobe, the cautionary tale about pride.
Niobe, queen of Thebes, boasts about her 14 children, comparing herself favorably to the goddess Leto, who really had 2.
Leto's children being Apollo and Artemis. Not gods you want to insult.
Definitely not. Apollo and Artemis take offense on their mother's behalf. Apollo kills all 7 of Niobe's sons with his arrows. Artemis kills all 7 daughters.
All 14 children, just like that.
Swift, divine retribution. Niobe is left weeping, inconsolable. The gods turn her into a rock on Mount Sipylus that perpetually weeps water, a monument to hubris.
What about Momus, god of complaining?
Basically, god of satire, blame, criticism, son of night. He found fault with everything. Poseidon's bull, Athena's house, Hephaestus' Pandora.
Did he criticize Zeus too?
Oh yeah, particularly Zeus's affairs. His constant negativity eventually got him kicked out of Olympus. Even gods have their limits for complaining.
There's a strange little story about a cat turned into a woman.
A fable-like tale. A cat loves its owner so much it prays to Aphrodite to become human. Aphrodite grants the wish.
The cat woman marries the owner.
Yes. But Aphrodite decides to test her. Releases a mouse in the room.
And the woman instantly reverts to her feline nature, chases the mouse.
Exactly. Can't change fundamental nature, the story suggests. True character will out.
We mentioned Castor and Pollux before. The twins, one mortal, one immortal.
Sons of Leda. Castor the horseman, mortal. Pollux the boxer, immortal, son of Zeus. Great heroes, Argonauts, rescued Helen once.
But there's tragedy, a rivalry.
Yes, rivalry with another set of brothers, Lynceus and Idas. Leads to a fight. Castor is killed.
And Pollux is devastated.
Inconsolable. Begs Zeus to let him share his immortality with Castor. Zeus agrees they alternate days between Olympus and the underworld, forever together. A symbol of brotherly love.
Sisyphus, we know his punishment, rolling the boulder. But what was his crime exactly? He was cunning, right?
Extremely cunning, king of Corinth. He saw Zeus abducting the nymph Aegina.
And he tattled.
He told Aegine's father, the river goddess Opis, where Zeus took her, but only in exchange for Opis creating a permanent spring for Corinth. Very transactional.
Zeus wasn't happy about that. Sends death, Thanatos.
Yes, but Sisyphus tricks Thanatos, chains him up, so nobody on Earth can die for a while.
Chaos ensues. Who frees death?
Ares, god of war, gets annoyed battles aren't ending decisively, frees Thanatos, Sisyphus eventually dies, but even in the underworld, he has one last trick.
What does he do?
Tells Persephone he needs to pop back up to Earth briefly to scold his wife for not giving him proper funeral rites. She lets him go, and he refuses to return
He escapes the underworld.
for a time. Eventually, Hermes drags him back, and then he gets the eternal punishment with the boulder for basically cheating death multiple times and annoying the gods.
He was very clever, but ultimately paid the price. What about Bellerophon? Rode Pegasus?
Yes, grandson of Sisyphus, maybe,
Yeah.
exiled to Lycia. The king's wife, Antea, falsely accuses him of assault.
So the king wants him gone, but can't kill him directly due to hospitality rules, sends him on impossible quests.
Exactly. First, kill the chimera lion head, goat body, snake tail, breathes fire.
How does he manage that?
With Athena's help, he tames Pegasus. Flying on Pegasus gives him a huge advantage. He defeats the chimera, defeats the warrior Salami, defeats the Amazons.
So he succeeds against all odds, becomes a hero.
Big time. King Iobates is impressed, gives him his other daughter in marriage, makes him heir, but success goes to Bellerophon's head. Hubris strikes again.
What does he do?
Thinks he's so great he deserves a place on Olympus. Tries to fly Pegasus up there.
Zeus doesn't like mortals trying to barge in.
Not at all. Sends a gadfly to sting Pegasus. The horse bucks. Bellerophon falls all the way back down to Earth.
Does he die?
Myths vary. Some say he dies, others say he lives but is crippled, blinded, wanders alone, shunned by gods and men. Pegasus makes it to Olympus, becomes a constellation, a classic rise and fall story.
We touched on the creation earlier, chaos, then Gaia. What about the next generation, Uranus and Cronus, briefly?
Gaia gives birth to Uranus, sky. They have kids, the Titans. Uranus is a bad father, locks his kids up inside Gaia, the Earth. She's not happy.
That's Cronus to help her.
Youngest Titan, Cronus. Gaia gives him a sickle. He ambushes Uranus, castrates him. Cronus takes over.
But Cronus is paranoid too, about his own kids overthrowing him.
Just like his dad, prophecy says one of his kids will dethrone him. So as his wife Rhea gives birth to Hestia, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, Demeter, he swallows them whole.
Horrifying. But Rhea saves the last one. Zeus.
Tricks Cronus, gives him a rock wrapped in blankets, which he swallows. She hides baby Zeus on Crete,
Zeus grows up, comes back.
gets help from Metis, gives Cronus a potion, makes him vomit up the other siblings, fully grown.
And then the big war. Titanomachy.
Olympians versus Titans. Huge cosmic battle. Olympians win, thanks partly to freeing the Cyclops and Hecaton chairs from Tartarus. They establish their rule on Mount Olympus.
Okay, after the war, Poseidon needs a wife. Amphitrite.
Yes, one of the Nereids. He sees her, wants to marry her. She's not keen initially, flees.
But Poseidon persists. Sends a messenger.
Sends Delphin, a dolphin, to persuade her.
Hmm.
Delphin succeeds, convinces Amphitrite to marry Poseidon. She becomes queen of the sea.
And Delphin gets rewarded.
Becomes the constellation Delphinus. Poseidon and Amphitrite have a son, Triton, the merman herald.
What about Prometheus and Epimetheus creating mankind and Pandora?
Zeus assigns the job after the Titanomachy. Prometheus' forethought is clever. Epimetheus' afterthought is less so. Prometheus famously steals fire from the gods and gives it to humans.
Which makes Zeus furious. Punishment for Prometheus.
Chained to a rock, Eagle eats his liver every day. Eternal torment until Heracles eventually frees him much later.
And punishment for mankind. Pandora.
Zeus has Hephaestus create the first woman, Pandora. All the gods give her gifts, beauty, charm, cunning, and curiosity. Hermes delivers her to Epimetheus.
Along with a box or jar, the one she's not supposed to open.
Exactly. Epimetheus, being afterthought, accepts her, despite Prometheus' warnings. Pandora's curiosity wins. She opens the box.
And releases all the evils into the world. Sickness, misery, war.
All the troubles that plague humanity. The only thing left inside when she slams the lid shut is Elpis' hope.
A small consolation, maybe? What about Zeus and Metis? He marries her, but then swallows her.
Yes, Metis, goddess of wisdom. Gaia warns Zeus that if Metis has a son after bearing him a daughter, that son will overthrow him.
Same old paranoia. So Zeus tricks Metis and swallows her while she's pregnant.
Exactly. He absorbs her wisdom, but prevents the birth of the potentially dangerous son. But then he gets a splitting headache.
The birth of Athena from his head.
Has Hephaestus or Prometheus crack his skull open, and out springs Athena, fully grown, fully armed, goddess of wisdom and warfare, born directly from the king of the gods.
And Hera's reaction to Zeus before they got married. Was she always keen?
Not necessarily. Some myths say she lived apart, resisted his advances initially. Zeus had to be persistent.
The cuckoo story.
Right. He transformed into a poor, shivering cuckoo caught in a storm. Hera took pity, held it to warm it, and then he transformed back and basically asserted himself, leading to their marriage.
A rather coercive courtship. What about Shalone, the lazy nymph at their wedding?
Hermes invited everyone, gods, nymphs, everyone. Chalone couldn't be bothered to show up, preferred staying home.
Hermes gets annoyed.
Very. As punishment for her laziness and disrespect, he turns her into a tortoise, forever condemned to carry her house on her back. A lesson in showing up, maybe?
Hephaestus, we know he married Aphrodite, but his birth. Hera had him alone.
Yes, maybe in retaliation for Zeus birthing Athena, but Hephaestus was born lame and considered ugly.
Hera rejects him, throws him off Olympus.
Shockingly, yes. Throws her own son out. He falls into the ocean, rescued by Thetis and Eurynome, grows up on Lemnos, becomes a master craftsman.
Does he get revenge? Or try to reconcile?
Both, maybe.
Yeah.
Crafts a beautiful golden throne for Hera. She sits in it.
Yeah.
He gets trapped. Magic throne.
Nobody else can free her. Only Hephaestus.
Right. He uses it as leverage, demands to be accepted back onto Olympus, gets his wish, and then, as a final demand, or maybe Zeus's idea to keep peace.
He gets Aphrodite as his wife, the most beautiful goddess for the ugliest god.
That's the arrangement. Not exactly a love match, more celestial politics.
Apollo and Artemis, their birth was difficult too, because of Hera.
Leto was their mother, another of Zeus's lovers. Hera was furious, decreed that Leto could not give birth on any solid land connected to the earth.
So where could she go?
She found refuge on the floating island of Delos, which wasn't technically land. There she gave birth to the twins, Artemis first, then Apollo.
Hera still pursues them, sends a monster.
Sends the giant serpent Python after them. Much later, Apollo hunts down and kills Python at Delphi, establishing his oracle there. Leto also had trouble with some rude peasants who denied her water, turned them into frogs.
Divine twins born under duress. Okay, the contest for Athens. Poseidon versus Athena.
A classic. Both wanted to be the patron deity of the new city in Attica. Cecrops, the earthborn king, judged the contest.
Poseidon strikes the rock, gets a saltwater spring. Impressive, but not very useful.
Exactly. Athena offers the olive tree, food, oil, wood, symbol of peace and prosperity. Much more practical.
So Athena wins. Athens is named after her. Poseidon is angry.
Furious. Punishes the Athenian women by taking away their right to vote. A later addition, maybe explaining social customs. Athenians build him a temple at Sunion to appease him. Eventually they reconcile, but Athena remains the patron.
Aphrodite's birth, we mentioned Uranus's castration. She rises from the sea foam.
Near Cyprus, yes. Born from the sea foam created by Uranus's severed genitals falling into the ocean. Arrives on Olympus, stunningly beautiful.
And Zeus marries her off to Hephaestus to avoid fights among the gods.
Worried everyone would fight over her. But she's not happy, leading to affairs. Especially with Ares.
The affair with Ares, they get caught, right, by Hephaestus.
Oh, yes. Ares, god of war, not popular but physically impressive. Aphrodite is drawn to him. They carry on secretly.
But Helios, the sun, sees everything, tells Hephaestus.
Exactly. Hephaestus, the master craftsman, doesn't just get angry, he gets inventive. Forges an invisible, unbreakable golden net.
Sets a trap.
Lays it over their bed. Next time Ares and Aphrodite are occupied, the net drops, traps them in a very compromising position.
And Hephaestus calls the other gods to witness.
The ultimate humiliation. Calls everyone to come and see. The gods mostly find it hilarious. Hephaestus gets his proof, maybe repudiates Aphrodite. Their kids include fear, phobos, terror, Deimos, in harmony, harmonia, irony maybe.
Orpheus and Eurydice, the musician who goes to the underworld for love.
Orpheus, son of Apollo and a muse. His music could charm anything, rocks, trees, beasts. Sailed with the Argonauts, outsang the sirens.
Marries the nymph Eurydice, but tragedy strikes soon.
On their wedding day, or shortly after, she's bitten by a snake while fleeing someone, Aristeus maybe, and dies.
Orpheus is heartbroken, goes down to the underworld himself.
Unprecedented. Charms his way past Cerberus, charms Hades and Persephone themselves with his mournful music. They're moved, agree to let Eurydice return.
But there's a condition, the famous condition.
Don't look back, lead her out, but don't turn around and look at her until you're both fully in the sunlight of the upper world.
And just as they're almost out.
He doubts. He worries. He looks back and sees her fade away, pull back into the darkness forever, the ultimate tragedy of doubt.
King Midas and the Golden Touch, a classic cautionary tale.
Midas does a favor for Dionysus, helps his drunken companion, Silenus. Dionysus grants him a wish.
And Midas wishes
That everything he touches turns to gold. Thinks it's brilliant.
but quickly realizes the problem. Food turns to gold, water turns to gold.
Even his own daughter turns into a golden statue when he hugs her. Horrifying. He begs Dionysus to take the wish back.
Can Dionysus undo it?
Tells Midas to wash in the river Pactolus. He does. The curse washes off into the river, which is why its sands were said to be rich in gold. Midas learns his lesson, gives up riches for a simple life.
The Gigantomachy, the war with the giants. This was after the Titanomachy.
Yes. Gaia, still angry about the Titans' defeat, births the giants, huge, powerful, often snake-legged beings born from Uranus's blood. Their goal, overthrow the Olympians.
Another huge battle for the gods.
Massive war. Prophecy says the gods can only win with the help of a mortal hero.
Heracles again.
Heracles plays the crucial role. His poison arrows are key to killing the giants, who were vulnerable only to a combined attack by a god and a mortal. Olympians win, securing their rule.
Europa and the bull we mentioned, her abduction, started Cadmus's story. Zeus as a white bull.
Beautiful princess of Tyre, has a prophetic dream, sees this magnificent, gentle white bull on the beach.
She approaches it, gets on its back.
It seems tame. She climbs on. Suddenly, the bull charges into the sea, swims all the way to Crete.
Reveals himself as Zeus.
Yes, they have children, Minos, Rhadamanthys, Sarpedon, and she gives her name to the continent of Europe.
King Minos, her son, we know he had the labyrinth built for the Minotaur. How did the Minotaur come about again? Poseidon's bull.
Minos asks Poseidon for a bull from the sea to sacrifice, to prove his right to rule Crete. Poseidon sends a magnificent white bull.
But Minos doesn't sacrifice it, keeps it because it's too beautiful.
Exactly. Sacrifices a lesser bull. Poseidon is insulted. Revenge time.
Makes Minos' wife, Pasiphae, fall in love with the bull.
An unnatural passion. Pasiphae gets Daedalus, the master inventor, to build her a hollow wooden cow.
So she can mate with the bull.
Yes. The result is the Minotaur half-man, half-bull. Minos is horrified, ashamed, has Daedalus build the labyrinth to imprison it, feeds it human sacrifices.
Demeter and some disrespectful woodcutters. Another instance of divine anger.
Demeter, goddess of the harvest. People were performing rituals in her sacred grove. Some rude woodcutters interrupt, chop down trees, show no respect.
Demeter transforms them.
Turns them into poplar trees, rooted to the spot in the grove they desecrated. Don't mess with sacred ground.
Erysichthon, another one who disrespected Demeter's grove, but with a different punishment.
Yes, Erysichthon deliberately cuts down Demeter's sacred oak. She warns him, disguised as a priestess. He threatens her. She reveals herself.
And curses him. With what?
Insatiable hunger. A hunger so profound nothing can satisfy. He eats everything he owns, sells everything.
Sells his daughter, Mestra, who can shapeshift.
Yes, Poseidon gave Mestra that gift. She keeps escaping her buyers by changing form, but her father keeps selling her again to buy more food. It's endless.
How does it end for Erysichthon?
Horribly. In his final desperate starvation, he ends up eating himself. A gruesome end for extreme impiety.
There was a rebellion against Zeus, led by Hera.
Hera, tired of his affairs, conspires with Poseidon and Apollo. They try to chain Zeus up while he's sleeping.
Does it work?
Almost. But Thetis gets word, summons Briareus, the hundred-handed giant, to help Zeus. The rebels see Briareus, panic, give up.
Punishments follow. Hera hung in the sky. Apollo and Poseidon forced to serve a mortal king.
Yes, King Laomedon of Troy, forced to build the walls of Troy as punishment.
Salmoneus the king, who tried to imitate Zeus's thunder and lightning.
Brother of Sisyphus, utterly arrogant, drove a chariot rigged to sound like thunder, threw torches like lightning, demanded people worship him as Zeus.
Zeus's reaction.
Swift and final. A real thunderbolt obliterates Salmoneus and his followers. Don't impersonate the boss.
Tantalus punished in the underworld with eternal hunger and thirst. What did he do? Stealing ambrosia.
That was part of it, sharing divine secrets. But his worst crime was testing the god's omniscience. Killed his own son, Pelops. Chopped him up, cooked him, served him to the gods at a banquet.
Unspeakable, did the gods know.
All except Demeter, who was grieving for Persephone and accidentally ate a piece of Pelops' shoulder. The rest were horrified, punished Tantalus eternally in Tartarus. They brought Pelops back to life, gave him an ivory shoulder.
Ixion, another resident of Tartarus, bound to a fiery wheel. His crime involved hospitality.
Betrayal of hospitality, big time. Murdered his father-in-law after refusing to pay the bride price. Zeus actually purified him of this crime, showed him mercy.
How did Ixion repay this kindness?
By trying to seduce Hera. Zeus tests him, creates a cloud clone of Hera. Nephilim, Ixion sleeps with the cloud.
And fathers the centaurs.
That's one origin story for them. Zeus, furious at the betrayal and attempted adultery, strikes Ixion with a thunderbolt and binds him to the eternally spinning fiery wheel in Tartarus. Ultimate punishment for ingratitude and violating sacred bonds.
Medusa's backstory, we know Perseus killed her, but she wasn't always a monster.
No, originally a beautiful priestess of Athena. Devout, possibly took a vow of celibacy.
But Poseidon desired her.
Yes, she rejected him. He didn't take no for an answer and assaulted her inside Athena's temple.
A double sacrilege, Athena's reaction.
Fury, but directed, unfairly perhaps, at Medusa, transformed her into the snake-haired Gorgon whose gaze petrifies as punishment for defiling her temple.
So Medusa was a victim turned into a monster by divine wrath. That adds a layer of tragedy.
It absolutely does. Makes her story much more complex than just being a monster for a hero to slay. Athena later uses her head on the Aegis, a symbol of terrifying power.
Persephone, her abduction by Hades, explains the seasons.
Yes, Persephone, sometimes called Kor, the maiden, daughter of Demeter, harvest. Hades falls for her, maybe with Eros' help.
Abducts her while she's picking flowers, drags her to the underworld.
Exactly. Demeter is devastated, searches everywhere, neglects her duties, causing winter and famine on Earth.
Zeus has to intervene. Sends Hermes.
Sends Hermes to negotiate Persephone's release. Hades agrees, but tricks Persephone first.
The pomegranate seeds.
Gives her some pomegranate seeds to eat. Because she tasted the food of the dead, she's bound to the underworld.
So the compromise is reached. Part of the year below with Hades, part above with Demeter.
Creating the cycle of seasons. Spring and summer when Persephone returns to Demeter, autumn and winter when she descends to Hades. Demeter also founded the Eleusinian mysteries, secret rites related to this cycle of death and rebirth.
Adonis, the super handsome mortal loved by Aphrodite.
So beautiful Aphrodite herself fell for him. Maybe after Eros accidentally pricked her. Passionate affair.
But others loved him too. Persephone, Pam.
Yes, his beauty was captivating. Aphrodite worries about his love for hunting dangerous animals.
Warns him, but he ignores her.
He goes hunting and gets killed by a wild boar.
Was it just an accident, or was Ares involved? Jealous.
Austin said Ares, Aphrodite's other lover, sent the boar, or disguised himself as it. Adonis dies in Aphrodite's arms. Red anemone flowers spring from his blood.
Another dispute between goddesses. Aphrodite and Persephone both want him.
Zeus mediates again. Adonis spends part of the year with Aphrodite, life, summer, and part with Persephone in the underworld, death, winter. Another cycle of nature myth.
Finally, Nymph. The nymph turned into the mint plant.
A nymph loved by Hades. Before Persephone, maybe, or during. Demeter finds out.
And Demeter, being protective or jealous on Persephone's behalf, punishes Min.
Tramples her, transforms her into the mint plant, which is why mint was often used in ancient Greek funeral rites, linking it back to the underworld.
Wow. We've covered an incredible amount of ground there. From cosmic creation to, well, the origins of mint. It's just staggering how much mythology there is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you see how everything is connected, right?
Yeah.
The gods' actions, their rivalries, their loves, they ripple out and affect mortals, heroes, even the landscape itself. These recurring themes just keep popping up.
Yeah, love, jealousy, power, fate, pride. They're woven through almost every story we've touched on. And those aha moments finding out why the Sahara exists, or the agency, or the Milky Way, or constellations. It's fascinating how they explain their worlds.
And the human drama within it all. The
Yeah.
flawed gods, the relatable struggles of the heroes. Even the monsters often have tragic backstories. It's not just simple good versus evil.
Absolutely. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Think about how these incredibly old stories, with all their divine drama and very human emotions, still show up today. You see echoes in modern books, movies, even our language.
Right. What is it about these myths about hubris or fate versus free will or the consequences of desire that still speaks to us thousands of years later? What parts of our own human nature do they still reveal? Maybe thinking about that is the real takeaway.
Something to definitely chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Greek mythology. We'll explore another source next time.